Why do minions like bananas? Because they find them appealing. Hey there, hi there, ho there, Andrew here, reviewing the Minions movie. Minions stars three lovable guys by the name of Kevin, Stuart, and Bob. They're recruited by Scarlet Overkill, who is voiced by Sandra Bullock. Scarlet Overkill is the greatest supervillain of her time. And by her side is her husband, Herb Overkill. Together, they plan on taking over the world. All they need is just a couple of minions. Well, that's convenient. Minions is written by Brian Lynch, and has two directors, Kyle Balda and Pierre Coffin. Side note, Pierre Coffin is the voice of all the minions in all the movies. Plus, the minions don't speak gibberish. They're polyglots. That means they speak more than one language. So in the opening credits, we learn the Minions' history. Minions started off as single cells and they evolved. How did they evolve? By keeping close to whatever stronger organisms were around. Eventually, they evolved to what we know. And due to bad luck, real bad luck, they self-exile. Where? To Antarctica. Then they hit a depression. Not a tropical depression. They're in Antarctica. I would be depressed too if I lived in Antarctica. And that's why I live in Florida, though I have to deal with tropical depressions. Oh, I'm so depressed I live in the tropics. Cue the Minions. First is Kevin. Kevin breaks depression and decides that he's going to go and find the ultimate big boss. You know, for the good of the tribe. He's joined by a minion named Stuart. Stuart has that whole teenage rebel angst thing going for him, and they're reluctantly teamed up with the cute and lovable Bob. If you look closely, there's a lot of similarities between these three guys and three other characters you might know. Yeah, they're styled after Gru's daughters. This journey to find the ultimate boss takes them all across the world. They go from Antarctica to New York City, which inspires them to go to VillainCon in Orlando. Why don't we have a VillainCon in Orlando now? And the story wraps up in London. All of this takes place in the 1960s. First thing I gotta talk about in this movie is the voice acting. John Hamm plays Herb Overkill. Hamm absolutely takes this movie to a whole new level. He is by far the best character in the movie. You can really tell that he gets into character. Herb is flamboyant in the whole 1960s vibe, and he is smart. Geniusly smart. Is geniusly a word? Big props go to Michael Keaton and Allison Janney. They play Mr. and Mrs. Nelson. Basically, they're a plot device. The Nelson family take the minions to VillainCon in Orlando. Again, why don't we have VillainCon in Orlando now? VillainCon is where the minions meet Scarlet. Mr. and Mrs. Nelson don't have a lot of screen time, but the little time that they do have, Keaton and Janney totally strike gold. This movie really doesn't have a great deal of spoken dialogue, but that doesn't slow down the animators at all. Not one time would somebody say, I have no idea what's going on right now. The soundtrack to this movie is really good, especially if you like the 1960s. Now honestly, the minions are better in short bursts. Since the dialogue is sparse, they have to refer to slapstick humor. Slapstick is fine, but when you stretch it over an hour and a half, yeah, it gets pretty thin. The overall plot point was pretty strong. The story inside the plot point, not so much. This is due to the fact that the main villain of the plot isn't very strong. To be honest, she's pretty weak. Not physically. Actually, physically, she beats up a lot of people in VillainCon in Orlando. Again, why don't we have VillainCon in Orlando? I mean, Scarlet Overkill is weak as in the character. She wasn't conniving or devious as the big bad. She should have been, dare I say it, despicable? Seriously, Sandra Bullock's voice acting is really disappointing in this flick. I'll give you an example. Look at Pat Carroll. She played Ursula in The Little Mermaid. Devious? Yes. Evil? Yes. Over-the-top acting? Yes. How about Betty Lou Gerson? She played Cruella de Vil. She knew exactly what was needed to play the big bad. Those two examples were in G-rated movies. G-rated movies. This movie's a PG movie. How can villains in a G-rated movie be more evil than a villain in a PG movie? I don't know. Scarlet should have been the most vile person in the world. I didn't see it. Maybe it's because they gave her a backstory. Never, never, never give a villain a backstory. If you don't know who these people are, then you haven't had any movies ruined for you. Consider yourself lucky. But for the rest of society, we know that a villain's backstory going all the way back to childhood makes the villain lame. It basically takes away all the mystique. Here's a hint to the movie industry. Don't tell us everything about the bad guy. Moving on. The Overkills tell the minions to steal the Queen's crown jewels. No spoiler there, that was in the trailer. I will say this. The minions never seem to be in any kind of danger. Sure, there's action, but no life-threatening danger. It's hard to root for the protagonist that way. They got nothing to overcome. And quite frankly, the minions weren't really motivated. So why should the audience be? As far as the climax of the movie, yep, again, no big danger there. There was more danger to the minions in the Universal Studios ride Minion Mayhem than in this flick. All in all, is this good for kids? Yes. Is it a family movie? Not really. To be honest, the kids in the theater when I went were pretty quiet. The loudest thing there were two late teen, early 20-something girls that wouldn't shut up. You know who you are. So if you're a completionist, buy the movie. Otherwise, this movie's a rental. Yep, that's my grade, a rental. So what do you think's going to happen in the upcoming movie Despicable Me 3? Write below and let me know. Subscribe to my channel and you get to see my videos the moment that I release them. And I will see you in the next video.